When I was a kid, like a teenager, when you're like trying out new clothes and seeing what looks good on you, someone told me that I shouldn't wear white because my teeth weren't white. And I was a little horrified, and for the rest of my life, I just felt like I could not wear a white shirt because my teeth were not white enough to pull it off. Whether you're in like politics or sales or speaking in front of people, like the great smile, it just makes all the difference. It just always bothered me that that my smile didn't reflect the confidence that I needed to have in certain situations. I always had a gap in between my front teeth growing up. And then when I was in my 30s, I had some bonding done, and I had the gap closed. And when I moved to New York and started seeing Dr. Tabib, we talked about the gap, or whether I should keep the gap or lose the gap. And one of the things he told me was that whoever had done my bonding originally was over aggressive and had flattened my front teeth so that they looked square and flat. And so they didn't catch the light anymore. So we had been talking for years about doing veneers for me, and it was just so hard for me to finally agree to do it. But what I love about them is not just that they're wider, but they actually are shaped in a way that they capture the light more now, and they're less square and they're longer, and they're just healthier looking, and they're a little more feminine than they were when I first started seeing Dr. Tabib. And I started just thinking about how certain people just had these amazing smiles, and I started thinking that, if I was going to trust anybody to do this for me, it would only be Dr. Tabib. I've known him, 20 years now, almost 20 years. And we've talked about it for about 15. The reluctance was fear of, this, it's major work, but the trust overcame the fear because I knew I was in the right hands. He got so exasperated with me, like we would talk about it every time I'd come in just to get my teeth cleaned, and I'd be like, I don't know, do you think I should do the veneers this year? And he would just be like, oh, no, yes, no, I don't care anymore. It was, it's like I'm not getting any younger, so I decided partly it was like age, and partly it was just like, okay, when are you going to be who you are? And, so many people allow themselves to get to the end of their lives and have regrets. And I'm like, I didn't want to regret never having done this. My biggest anxiety is just not knowing what I'm going to look like. I guess I'm just working with the change that's coming, but not knowing what that change is going to look like. I really feel like I'm putting my smile in the hands of people I trust, and I wouldn't have it any other way. There's just a lot of photographs, and he scans the teeth, and you can see what your actual teeth looks like on the computer, which is really crazy. And then they work with the lab to actually sculpt your teeth in a way that you approve and talk about with Dr. Tabib. It's really a very artistic process. It doesn't feel like a medical or dental so much. It feels like an aesthetic conversation. So once they get temporaries on your teeth, and he'll kind of tweak it, and then before the final veneers are made, and you kind of talk about the temporaries in your teeth, and it's kind of amazing because you're walking around with temporaries, but they're not the porcelain veneers yet. And so you get to talk about what those look like and how comfortable they are and whether they're reflecting what you're looking for, and so that was kind of cool. And then you have those on for several weeks, or I had those on for several weeks. And then when the veneers were done, I went in and had the veneers put in. It took about 2 days to do the main work for me coming in. It was definitely uncomfortable those 2 days, you know. There was sensitivity, and there was a little bit of sensitivity, you know, in the first couple of weeks, and then it just kind of like faded away, and it's not uncomfortable at all or sensitive at all anymore. I think one of my biggest fears was that I was gonna have teeth that were so white that it wasn't gonna look like me. I feel like it's really not as drastic as I thought it was gonna look. Like, at first I was like, oh my God, I look like me. I don't actually look that different. And I thought it was going to be a lot more drastic, but it's actually, to me, I think it looks really, really natural. So now that I have veneers, I have tried on some white shirts at home, and I actually feel comfortable wearing white now. And I feel more confident.